What a craziness! 3 statistical secrets that you need to know heading into the Belgium Grand Prix. Welcome to the pit wall. Let's go! First stat is streaks. Okay, we've got Hamilton with a power streak that is a potential 15 points for his quali top 10 finish and a race top 10 finish. Leclerc and Mercedes are all eligible for quali streaks. That's plus 5 points if they finish in the top 10 during qualifying, while Norris and Red Bull can get 10 points for finishing in the top 10 during the race. That might seem simple. Why don't you get those guys on your team? Because of what the second big storyline is for this race. Engine penalties, our second stat secret. Shout out to F24, Formula 24 Hours. If you don't follow them on Twitter, they give you breaking news from around Formula 1. Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris, Ocon, Schumacher, Bottas will all be starting from the back of the grid. They are all taking new engine components. Okay, let's read the actual technical documents. Also, it's really cool. You can go to the FI website to get these documents, or you can follow the FI F1 documents bot like I do on Twitter, and this will give you the lowdown. This may seem like a lot of technical stuff, but this is where we get to the important stuff. Anytime you see not with an underline, that means that they're going to get a penalty. And anybody who's going above, like Bottas at 4, or Ocon at 3, or Norris at 3, or Verstappen at 3, boom, penalty. And so you go through all these and you can read them in your own time. But the main thing we've got here is that there are 6 drivers getting, as of right now, penalties due to new components. And those people are, like we just said, Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris, Ocon, Schumacher, and Bottas. Now, this is crazy because we have Norris, who has a race streak, and if he's starting from the back of the grid, how's that going to impact him? How is Ocon doing? Leclerc and Verstappen fighting for maybe the championship because Verstappen has such a sizable lead, but those are usually mainstays on your team, and now boom, they're starting from the back of the grid. Schumacher, well, if you're going to have him starting from the back, that could be safe, but Magnussen is probably going to beat his teammate. And then Bottas, who has been having problems all qualifying. Let's see how these guys are stacking up so that we can see where they should be moving forward. This will now bring us to our spreadsheet. On the Google spreadsheet, this is where I've been keeping track of their times in free practice session 1 and free practice session 2. You can see here that while the Ferraris looked really strong in the first practice session, Verstappen came in and was even faster by a second in FP2, whereas Leclerc was just 0.2 faster than Sainz was the previous session. So if we're looking at the positions, we have Verstappen and Leclerc, then Sainz, Stroll surprisingly, Russell, Hamilton, then the McLarens. So this is the issue, right? If Norris has the pace, but then he's going to be at the back of the grid. Bottas, he's sitting duck down there, and Schumacher sitting duck, but Ocon back there. But if you got someone who could be fast, like Norris or Leclerc, how are they going to fare when they go to the back of the pack? Some people say, why don't we have Perez in there? Well, look, he's seeming like he's languishing. So what do we do if we got drivers starting from the back? You would think in the past they would just let it go, save their engine. But as pointed out, because these engines are very similar and all of them are going to be starting from the back, that means whoever qualifies ahead will then get to start ahead. So do the math. We got 6 drivers. Only 5 get knocked out in Q1 of qualifying, which means that all of them are going to try to get in the Q2. And if all of them are trying to get in the Q2, and they can, with maybe the exception of Mick Schumacher or Bottas, but maybe he'll be able to turn things around, then let's say there's still 4 guys, and you got another 5 that are getting knocked out in Q2. So then the question is, are they all going to push into Q3? And if they are, then the people who could get their quali streaks could still get you your points. So keep that in mind. Are they going to push all the way in the Q3 just so that they can stay one position ahead of one of those other guys? Especially Leclerc and Verstappen are going to be trying to out-qualify each other so that they don't have any cars between them on the starting grid. Which now brings us to the uncertainty of the weather. How does weather and our third stat secret potentially impact the performance if they're starting from the back of the grid? According to the F1 website, we had our watery conditions during FP1 and FP2. We see that it's not going to potentially happen in Saturday or Sunday for qualifying or the race. Well, let's look at our weather bug. See your temperatures seeming very similar as you go into Friday, you go into Saturday, as you go into Sunday. Very comparable temperatures. Let's switch over to Celsius for those that are used to Celsius. Okay. Now, if we go to precipitation, look at that. So low. Okay. Remember in the previous at Hungary, how high we saw that? These are so low compared to what happened in Hungary that we're probably not going to be seeing any sort of rain. And that is good news if you have a driver who's starting from the back. If you got guys who are starting from the back of the grid and trying to jockey for position like what happened at Silverstone, you run the risk that there's contact, that there is damage that's going to happen, especially in turn 1 of this track. Very famous for that. But that's what you have to decide. Are those 6 drivers that you're looking at, or any driver you're looking at, going to be safe this race? Because once they get into the race of things, there's a lot of passing with the DRS zones and the braking zone. So let's look at our lineups. I'm going to include this in the description below. This has been used by one of our key members in our Discord. You can join our Discord in the link in the description below, but it's called f1fantasytools.com. So you can put in your budget for your team right here, and then it will tell you, spit out what they think the best team that you could have and the estimated points. Perhaps if I was using this near the beginning of the season, I would miss some of the pitfalls, but you have to realize just because these are projections does not mean it will happen. For example, a lot of people are putting Leclerc as turboing on their team. But if he's starting from the back of the grid, is that worth it? Well, then you have to look at how strong Sainz is. And if Sainz is going to be starting ahead of him, then he might stay ahead. Or Perez. Norris, though, I think a lot of these stats are pre-penalties, right? Leclerc taking a penalty, Norris taking a penalty, and so that's where you got to say what is best for our budget. If Norris can get back into the race streak territory of +10, that could be good. I'm going to stay away from Bottas unless suddenly in FP3 he's showing really good pace. Ocon seems to be languishing, even though he's been a good pick in the past. This now brings us to our teams. Well, this popped up, so you can always keep a track of this. Win a signed hat. There is a special race that you can join that is being put on by F1. I guess this is the time to promo our Belgium Grand Prix 1 race challenge. We have 22 entrants. If we can get at least to 50, then we can be able to be eligible for our large league counting. Here you are, 1 chance, 1 team, 1 opportunity. Do recognize we do base points, so we don't take mega drivers into consideration. Also, we'll take the top 3, put them on our leaderboard, and get a special podium ceremony at the end of our next Internet's Best Teams video. I probably need to make sure to tell Dad to get on here so he doesn't get forgotten again. But down to my teams. Okay, these are teams after I got the day trading. I used my wild card. I had to leave 6 over because there was a lot of craziness happened this offseason with HackerMan. That's a story of a lot of bots. They were moving things up and down, up and down, up and down, and it was unpredictable. I have 7 left on team 2, and team 1 has 6. So here's the issue I've got. Hamilton looks very solid, and if I look back at his stats, he is averaging, jump back to the Google Sheets. His averaging position is 8. Now, apparently, according to Peter Windsor, that something to note is that both Mercedes started out on hards during the free practice session 1. And so that is a little weird that they would be starting on this compound, and that's why they may have slower times. So watch FP3 to see if they're going to hook things up and be even faster moving forward. Stroll seems like a dark horse. I would keep track of him, and that's why we probably to look to see if he's worth it on our team. Well, in order to do that, let's go over to our rank tab, and this link will be in the description below if you ever want to look at the spreadsheet. But we've got our price. Leclerc, he's got a 1.5 points per million, very solid. Same with Bottas. How does the engine penalty affect him? Perez is looking really good. So actually, that's probably someone to consider on your team, even if it seems like he's not as good right now. But you don't want him to get stuck in the pack. And then Sainz, Verstappen, pretty much you got your guys. Wow, look at that. Stroll at a 1.3. The issue is his value is 0.6, so he's just in the range at which he should cost. So if you're trying to get guys that are cheaper than what they should be, that's what you're looking at. Once you get to Stroll, now you're paying for what you're getting. But that's where you get Russell. This is the problem about Hamilton. He is overpriced. But if he could get you 15 extra points, that could be worth it. Keep that in mind. But we do see Ferrari and Red Bull are really priced ones. And so the issue is, if you had to choose between the two, Red Bull's more expensive. They need to get that race streak in order to get the plus 10 points, which would be favored over Ferrari. The problem is, with Verstappen and Leclerc starting from the back, who's going to be ahead? Perez or Sainz? It seems like it's clearly going to be Sainz. So is Sainz going to be safe and not have an engine issue? Is Perez going to stay safe and not get in a crash? That's what we got to deal with. Okay. So we know here that I'm not going to have Alpine. I should have juggled back to Mercedes. I didn't realize Mercedes was going to go up by $500,000. So here I'm going to potentially, look at that. I'm glad I was off Red Bull, because while Mercedes went up by 0.5 million, I got the first tick and then juggled off to Alpine. Imagine if I was on Aston Martin going up by 0.8. I'm not going to day trade. Well, you know, if I wanted the day trade, but at this point, I want to use these for points picks, not money picks. So if I were to go with Red Bull, for example, that would leave me with 0.2 million. Schumacher will need to become Magnussen because of that engine penalty he's going to be having. And then Ocon, Norris. See, Norris, I can't turbo driver, so I do need to drop these guys so I've got an actual legitimate turbo driver. The smart thing would be to have Claire for his quali streak, because then that turbo could turn into 10 points. That's probably why people are putting him in there. Let's just put him in there. Let's put Sainz in there. That's only 3.4 million left. That is the problem about having Hamilton. I can't afford him. If I had done better day trading, I would definitely have been able to afford him better, because I could have been gaining banks of money. So if we had to choose between Leclerc and Sainz, and I don't feel like I trust Perez right now, but let's say I was, take off Leclerc, put in Perez, it's still not enough money that I'm saving. If I put in Leclerc, man. What about the Stroll thing? If I were to put in Stroll, 13 million. Gasly, oof. Alonso, maybe. But then you have that Ocon. See, this is the issue I've got. To have Hamilton means that I got to break the bank, or I can't have Red Bull on here, right? For example, if I were to take off Red Bull and I put in Ferrari, then I could have 19 point something. Then I could put in Leclerc, but that means I'm going all in on Ferrari. Ooh. That is so tough. Okay, let me know in the comments below. I won't even look at Team 2. I'm gonna discard. I won't even look at Team 2 because it's a million less, and it's kind of got this whole situation almost the same. And so I'm only gonna focus on the one team. But put in the comments below, join our further discussion. What team are you thinking about? How do you feel about all these 6 guys who are getting engine penalties? And whew, until next time, I'll see you on the pit wall.